Have you ever sat in your car after running a completely normal errand, turned off the engine, and just stared at the dashboard for 20 minutes? You don't have the energy to open the door, grab your bags, or walk those few steps into your own home. There is no immediate danger around you. The sun might be shining, the neighborhood is quiet, and your schedule for the rest of the day is completely manageable. Yet, every single muscle in your shoulders feels like it is holding up a heavy stone wall. Your chest feels tight, and taking a deep breath feels like trying to pull air through a narrow straw. This is what it looks like when your internal system has run out of fuel. But the alarm bells inside are still ringing at maximum volume. Before we go any deeper into this space together, I want us to build a shared anchor right here in the comments. If you are reading or listening to this, and your body is carrying that quiet, unspoken heaviness, take a brief moment to leave an affirmation below. Just type, "I am giving my body permission to slow down today." Let that simple phrase be the first gentle step toward letting your guard down. A quiet declaration to yourself and to this community that you are no longer forcing your system to carry it all alone. You tell yourself you are just tired, but deep down, you know it is something more. It is a heavy, invisible weight that stays with you from the moment you open your eyes in the morning until you close them at night. You find yourself looking at ordinary things, a stack of mail on the counter, a basket of laundry, a simple text message asking how you are doing, and feeling an overwhelming sense of dread. These are not difficult tasks. In the past, you would have handled them without a second thought. But now, every little thing feels like a mountain you do not have the strength to climb. You feel like a stranger in your own life, moving through the motions, trying desperately to keep your head above water, while everyone else seems to be swimming effortlessly. We often think that exhaustion is just about needing more sleep or taking a weekend off. But there is a very specific kind of tiredness that rest alone cannot seem to touch. It is a deep, structural fatigue where your mind wants to settle, but your body refuses to let its guard down. You find yourself scanning the room when you enter a crowded space, or feeling an intense jolt of adrenaline just because the microwave beeped. You are physically safe, but internally, you are preparing for an impact that never comes. It is a lonely place to live because, to the outside world, you look like you are just going about your normal day, while on the inside, you are silently running a marathon you never signed up for. You smile at the grocery store clerk, you answer questions at work, and you tell your family that you are fine. But the truth is, you feel completely detached from the world around you. This type of exhaustion is a quiet thief. It slowly steals your ability to feel joy, to feel present, and to feel safe. You sit at the dinner table with the people you love most, listening to their voices, but you feel miles away, trapped behind a thick pane of glass. Your body is there, but your internal system is entirely consumed by the effort of just staying upright. You wonder why you cannot just snap out of it, why you cannot just choose to relax. You feel guilty for being so tired, guilty for not having more to give, and that guilt only adds to the heavy burden you are already carrying. You begin to blame yourself, thinking that you are somehow broken or weak because you cannot see the unseen battle your body is fighting just to keep you protected. The hardest part is that this weight doesn't disappear when you finally get to lie down. You turn off the lights, pull the blankets up to your chin, and wait for the relief of sleep to wash over you. But instead of resting, your mind starts to spin. Or worse, your body remains tight and rigid. Your heart rate stays slightly elevated, and you can feel the pulse in your throat. You are completely drained, yet your system feels like it is plugged into a faulty electrical socket, buzzing with a nervous, restless energy that you cannot turn off. It is deeply frustrating to be so desperate for peace, yet so completely unable to access it. You are left alone in the dark, carrying a weight that no one else can see, wondering if you will ever remember what it feels like to truly feel light, settled, and safe again. To understand why this happens, we have to look at how we lose our sense of stability in the first place. Think back to a time when you felt completely anchored. Maybe it was a period in your life when your daily routine felt predictable, or when a specific relationship made you feel entirely understood. In those moments, your body knew how to settle. You didn't have to think about breathing. It just happened, deep and slow. You could sit in a room and actually feel the support of the chair beneath you, trusting that the ground would hold you up. There was a familiar rhythm to your days, a quiet blueprint that your mind and body used to navigate the world without fear. It was an unspoken understanding that no matter what happened out there, you had a solid place to return to inside yourself. But then, a series of shifts occurred. It might not have been a single catastrophic event. Often, it is the slow, steady accumulation of small pressures. A demanding project that stretched on for months, a prolonged period of financial uncertainty, or the quiet strain of supporting someone else through their own struggles. It is the phone call in the middle of the night that makes your heart drop, the sudden change in a relationship that used to be your anchor, or the constant, low-level worry about the future that you can never quite shake. These things chip away at your foundation, piece by piece, so slowly that you barely notice it happening. You keep telling yourself that you just have to get through this week, or this month, or this season, without realizing that the landscape of your life has completely changed. Slowly, without you even noticing, the blueprint of what felt stable began to erode. Your body adapted to a state of constant readiness. It learned that it couldn't afford to lower its guard, because the moment it did, another demand would appear. When pressure becomes your normal environment, your system begins to view peace as an anomaly, or worse, as a trap. Have you noticed how uncomfortable it can feel when things finally go quiet? Instead of relaxing, you might feel an intense wave of restlessness. You find a task to complete, open a notebook to rewrite a list, or walk around the kitchen, rearranging items that were already in their place. Your body feels like it is waiting for the other shoe to drop, convinced that stillness is just a calm before an inevitable storm. This loss of your internal blueprint leaves you feeling deeply ungrounded. It is like trying to build a home on shifting sand, where every step you take feels uncertain and precarious. You look around at your life, at the rooms you inhabit, and the routines you follow. But the feeling of being protected is gone. You realize that you no longer know how to just exist without being on high alert. The simple comforts that used to soothe you, a quiet evening, a warm bath, a conversation with a friend, now feel like tasks you have to force yourself to endure. Your system has lost its map back to baseline, and without that map, every direction feels unfamiliar, overwhelming, and heavy. The tragedy of losing this blueprint is that you begin to feel unsafe within your own skin. Your body, which used to be your sanctuary, becomes a place of constant tension and noise. You remember what it felt like to be light, to laugh without a heavy shadow hanging over you, to wake up without an immediate sense of dread. That memory feels like a distant dream, a version of yourself that belongs to someone else entirely. You long to go back to that time when stability felt natural, but the road back seems completely blocked. You are left standing in the ruins of your old sense of security, trying to navigate a world that feels entirely too loud, entirely too fast, and entirely too much to bear alone. Our internal systems do not communicate with us using words. They use physical sensations, and when we are pushed past our limits, those sensations become a loud, non-negotiable protest. It is the sudden tension in your jaw when you are just watching a movie. It is the way your stomach knots up before you have even stepped out of bed in the morning. It is that persistent, humming vibration in your limbs that makes it impossible to sit still, even when you are desperately tired. We often treat these physical signs as inconveniences. We try to ignore them, push through them, or find ways to fix them quickly so we can get back to our responsibilities. We treat our bodies like demanding machines that just need to be silenced, getting frustrated when a headache or a wave of fatigue slows us down, completely missing the deeper message trying to break through. When you live in this state for too long, your body begins to speak in a language of absolute exhaustion. It is the feeling of your throat tightening up when someone asks you a simple, well-meaning question about how your week is going, forcing you to swallow hard just to keep from crying. It is the way your breath catches in the top of your chest, shallow and rapid, because your ribs feel too tight to let your lungs fully expand. You might notice that your shoulders are permanently lifted toward your ears, as if you are walking through a freezing cold wind, even when you are sitting in a warm, comfortable living room. Your body is trying to tell you something that your mind is too busy to hear. It has been holding up the world for far too long. and it cannot carry the weight for much longer. But these reactions are actually a brilliant, protective response from a system that believes it is fighting for your survival. When your baseline shifts into a state of defense, your body prioritizes protection over everything else. It slows down your digestion, keeps your heart rate slightly elevated, and sharpens your senses to look for potential difficulties. You might find yourself overreacting to small inconveniences, like a dropped set of keys or a slow internet connection, with an intense wave of irritation or tears. It is not because you are fragile, and it is not because you cannot handle life. It is because your cup is already filled to the very brim with unspoken pressure. And that single dropped key is simply the drop that causes it to overflow. Your body is utilizing every ounce of its remaining energy just to keep you safe from a world it perceives as dangerous. This constant internal defense creates a profound sense of isolation within your own skin. You feel as though you are trapped inside a fortress that you didn't mean to build, watching life happen through a tiny slot in the wall. You see people laughing, relaxing, and moving through their days with ease, and you wonder why your body won't let you join them. You feel a deep ache in your muscles, a weariness that goes all the way down to your bones. Yet the moment you try to rest, the internal alarm system fires again. It is a heartbreaking cycle. Your mind begs for stillness, but your body interprets that stillness as vulnerability, instantly tightening its grip to keep you alert. We try so hard to reason with this defense, telling ourselves that there is nothing to fear, that the meeting is over, that the bills are paid, or that the crisis has passed. But the body doesn't care about logic. It only cares about felt safety. Until it genuinely feels that the danger has subsided, it will keep standing at the gates, shielding you from threats you aren't even aware you are anticipating. Every ache, every flutter in your chest, and every sudden wave of unexplainable panic is not a sign that you are failing. It is the raw, emotional language of a system that loves you enough to keep fighting for you, even when it is completely heartbroken and entirely out of breath. When we live in this defensive state for too long, a deep divide begins to open up within us. On the outside, we present a version of ourselves that is capable, organized, and entirely in control. We show up for our commitments, we respond to requests, and we smile when appropriate. We become masters at pretending. We learn exactly how to modulate our voices so we sound calm, how to walk with a steady stride even when our knees feel weak, and how to say, "I'm doing well, thank you," with just the right amount of warmth. We do this because we feel we have no choice. The world keeps moving, the bills keep arriving, and the people around us expect the person they have always known. So, we give them that person, forcing our bodies to play a part that feels heavier and heavier with each passing day. But underneath that presentation, there is a hidden world of exhaustion, fear, and profound weariness that we rarely show to anyone else. We hide this side because we worry that if we let it surface, we won't be able to put the pieces back together, or we will disappoint the people who depend on us. We are terrified that if we admit how tired we truly are, the entire structure of our lives will come crashing down around us. So, we compress that raw pain into a small, dark corner of our chest. We carry a silent, growing panic that someone will look closely enough to see the cracks in our reflection, or that a single kind question will cause the tears we are holding back to finally spill over. It is a deeply exhausting way to live, acting as the anchor for everyone else while you are secretly drowning in plain sight. This internal separation can feel incredibly heavy, but it is a pattern that human beings have navigated for a very long time. It is a sorrowful truth that the more we force ourselves to look strong on the outside, the more fragile and disconnected we feel on the inside. We split ourselves in two: the protector who faces the world, and the weary soul who is left behind to suffer in silence. Carl Jung captured this dynamic beautifully when he observed, "The persona is a complicated system of relations between individual consciousness and society, fittingly a kind of mask designed on the one hand to make a definite impression upon others, and, on the other, to conceal the true nature of the individual." Think about that word, a mask. It is not a sign of deceit. It is a shield. You built your mask out of a profound necessity to survive, to protect yourself when the world felt entirely too demanding or unsafe. Perhaps you learned early in life that your worth was tied to your productivity, or that showing vulnerability was dangerous. Your mask was designed to keep you safe, to make sure you were loved, accepted, and able to function. But when your system is exhausted, maintaining that mask requires an enormous amount of energy that you simply do not have. The fatigue you feel isn't just from the tasks you perform. It is from the immense effort of hiding how overwhelmed you truly are. It takes a massive amount of physical power to keep a heavy curtain pulled tightly over your true feelings while your body is screaming for relief. The tragedy of living behind this shield is that it prevents the very comfort you are searching for from ever reaching you. When people love and praise the mask you wear, a quiet voice inside whispers, "They don't see the real me. If they knew how broken down I actually am, they wouldn't stay." This deepens the divide, locking your exhausted nervous system into a state of total isolation. You cannot feel safe when you are hiding, because your body knows that if you drop your guard for even a second, the illusion will be shattered. Healing begins when we acknowledge that the mask exists to protect us, but that we cannot live behind it forever if we want our bodies to truly feel settled again. We have to find the immense courage to gently lower the shield, look at our own tired, aching reflection, and admit that the cost of pretending has become far too high to pay. To bridge this divide, we have to look at what we are keeping hidden beneath the surface. For many of us, the parts of ourselves that feel tired, frightened, or unable to cope are things we view as flaws. We treat our exhaustion as a personal failure, assuming that if we were just stronger or better organized, we wouldn't feel this way. We look at our inability to keep up with the world, and we feel a deep sense of shame. We tell ourselves that we are letting people down, that we are being lazy, or that we simply lack the resilience that everyone else seems to possess. We push those heavy feelings down into the dark corners of our minds, hoping they will disappear if we ignore them long enough. We pack them away tightly, forcing a smile, hoping that if we refuse to look at our pain, our bodies will somehow forget that it is there. But the things we refuse to look at do not vanish. They simply find louder, more disruptive ways to get our attention through our physical health. Your body becomes the canvas for all the unexpressed sorrow, all the suppressed panic, and all the silent screams for a break that your mind refused to validate. The tension doesn't go away just because you decided to ignore it. It settles deeply into your muscles, locks your joints, and keeps your chest bound tight. When we view our vulnerability as an enemy, we turn our own skin into a battlefield. We spend our days fighting our own fatigue, shouting at our bodies to keep going when they are desperately begging us to sit down. This internal war is a quiet, constant drain on our last remaining reserves of spirit. This process of hiding our true state only deepens our internal exhaustion. It requires an immense, agonizing amount of effort to pretend that you are whole when you feel like you are scattering into pieces. You are essentially using your own life force to suppress your own truth. Carl Jung pointed directly to this struggle when he wrote, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." Think about why that is so terrifying. To accept yourself completely means letting go of the idealized version of who you think you should be. It means looking into the mirror when you are completely broken down without the armor of your achievements or your usefulness, and facing the person who is suffering underneath. It means admitting that you have limits, that you cannot carry everything on your own, and that you are hurting. For a system that has survived by being strong, this feels like an absolute death sentence. It feels like stepping off a cliff into total darkness, terrified that if you let yourself feel how tired you truly are, you will dissolve completely and never be able to pull yourself back together. But true vulnerability is not a collapse. It is a profound act of reclamation. Accepting yourself completely does not mean liking every single circumstance of your life, nor does it mean giving up. It means looking honestly at your current state and saying, "Right now, I am completely overwhelmed, and it makes sense that I feel this way." It is the moment you stop treating your exhaustion as a crime and start treating it as a factual reality that deserves kindness. When you stop fighting the reality of your fatigue, you stop wasting the little energy you have left on self-criticism. You finally lay down your weapons. Imagine how much energy would be returned to you if you simply stopped punishing yourself for being human. True vulnerability starts in the privacy of your own mind. When you finally give yourself permission to be exactly as tired as you actually are. It is a quiet, emotional exhale where you look at your own trembling hands and your weary heart, and instead of demanding that they do more, you gently whisper, "I see you. I know how hard you've been trying, and it is okay to rest now." When we realize how exhausted we are, our first instinct is often to look for a quick solution. We want a single practice, a specific habit change, or a weekend retreat that will instantly erase months or years of accumulated strain. We treat our well-being like a mechanical object that needs a swift repair. We look at our bodies the same way we look at a broken appliance, searching for the right switch to flip or the right part to replace so we can get right back to our busy lives. We buy books, we sign up for courses, and we promise ourselves that if we just push hard enough through a new wellness routine, we can force our system to snap back into shape. We carry a desperate urgency into our healing, trying to rush our way out of the very exhaustion that was caused by rushing in the first place. But a living system does not respond well to urgency. In fact, approaching your recovery with a sense of urgency or pressure only signals to your body that it is still under threat, further locking it into a defensive posture. When you demand that your body heal quickly, your internal nervous system doesn't hear a message of love. It hears another demand. It feels the same pressure, the same expectation, and the same lack of safety that made it collapse in the first place. Your body interprets your impatience as a sign that it is still not allowed to just exist, that it is only valuable to you when it is fully functional and productive. Trying to force yourself to calm down is an impossible paradox that only deepens the internal frustration, leaving you feeling even more defeated when a quick fix fails to deliver the peace you so desperately crave. If your system took a long time to become this depleted, it will naturally require a patient, gradual process to return to equilibrium. There is no single decision that changes everything overnight. You cannot undo years of holding your breath with one deep inhalation. Your body needs to test the waters of peace over and over again before it can truly believe that the danger has passed. It needs to know that stillness is not just a brief pause before the next crisis, but a permanent, dependable sanctuary. This means we have to lay down the illusion of a sudden, magical repair and prepare ourselves for a longer, softer journey. We have to learn to honor the slow pace of living tissue, which heals not through sudden breakthroughs, but through the quiet, repetitive accumulation of moments where nothing is demanded of it. Instead, recovery is built through a series of tiny, quiet choices that happen throughout your day. It is the choice to sit still for 3 minutes without looking at a screen. It is the decision to say no to an invitation that you technically could attend, but don't have the emotional capacity for. It is allowing a task to remain unfinished until tomorrow, so you can rest tonight. It is the moment you close your eyes and let your hands go soft in your lap, even while the world around you is still moving fast. These moments might feel insignificant on their own, but collectively, they are the bricks that rebuild your foundation. They are small, gentle messages sent directly to your cells, whispering that it is safe to let go, if only for a few seconds. We must learn to appreciate these small shifts rather than discarding them because they don't solve everything at once. Healing an exhausted system is an act of gentle persuasion, not an act of force. It is found in the quiet realizations, like noticing that your shoulders dropped half an inch while you were listening to a song, or that you took a natural, deep breath without having to think about it. You are not a machine to be fixed. You are a weary person who needs to be tended to with infinite patience. By letting go of the need for an immediate cure, you finally give your body the one thing it has been starving for: the time and space to heal on its own terms, without having to prove its readiness to anyone else. When the world feels entirely overwhelming, trying to find a massive sense of safety can feel completely out of reach. When you are deeply exhausted, the idea of changing your entire life or finding a lasting, grand state of peace feels like an impossible task that only demands more energy you do not have. Instead of searching for a grand state of peace, we need to focus on creating tiny, manageable pockets of absolute predictability. Your internal system relaxes when it knows exactly what to expect next. When everything around you feels chaotic, loud, and constantly changing, your body thrives on the small things that remain completely certain. These pockets do not need to be elaborate or time-consuming. They simply need to be moments where there are no demands, no expectations, and no surprises. They are small sanctuaries in time where the world is stopped at the door, and for just a few minutes, nothing unexpected can reach you. Think about how much of your day is spent reacting to things you cannot control. You are constantly adjusting to shifting schedules, navigating the moods of the people around you, and handling the unexpected pressures that life throws your way. This constant adaptation keeps your nervous system working in overdrive, always trying to stay one step ahead of the next change. To help an exhausted body feel safe again, we have to deliberately build tiny islands of time where the script is completely written by you ahead of time. It is about creating small, beautiful rituals that never change, giving your system a chance to look ahead and say, I know exactly what is going to happen next, and I don't have to prepare for a surprise. Consider the simple act of preparing a warm beverage in the evening. The weight of the mug in your hands, the warmth spreading through your fingers, the steady stream of steam rising into the air. This is a sensory experience that is entirely under your control. You know exactly how the ceramic feels against your palms. You know the exact sound the water makes as it pours, and you know the familiar scent that rises into the room. For those few minutes, there is no ambiguity. Or think about the exact routine of putting on your favorite, softest clothing when you return home, feeling the familiar texture against your skin. It is the act of sitting in the exact same chair every morning for 5 minutes before anyone else is awake, looking at the same view out the window, and letting your body feel the solid, unchanging support beneath you. For those few minutes, your body does not have to guess what is coming. It can interpret those familiar, gentle physical sensations as clear evidence that right now, in this exact square foot of space, it is permitted to step down from its post. These small pockets of predictability act as anchor points throughout your day. They are like small physical markers that tell your survival brain it can safely turn down the volume of its alarms. You are teaching your body in a very physical, emotional way that safety is not an abstract concept to be found in the future. It is a small, real reality that can be tasted, felt, and touched right now. By protecting these tiny moments with your whole heart, you give your exhausted system the gentle, repetitive proof it needs to finally believe that it is allowed to rest. As you begin to slow down, you will likely notice that your internal world feels messy. The moment you finally stop running and allow the silence to catch up with you, the feelings you have been outrunning for months or even years will begin to surface. It can feel like an overwhelming wave breaking over you all at once. You might feel a wave of grief for the time you spent running on empty, or a sudden burst of frustration about the responsibilities you carry. You might look at your life and feel a deep sadness for how long you forced yourself to pretend you were okay when you were secretly breaking inside. It is completely natural to want to turn away from these uncomfortable emotions and find a distraction. We want to turn on a screen, pick up a task, or find any way possible to numb the sudden ache of our own reality, because facing the sheer depth of our exhaustion feels entirely too painful to bear. We live in a culture that encourages us to always look at the bright side and keep moving forward. We are constantly flooded with messages telling us to stay positive, to find the silver lining, and to use our pain as fuel to become stronger, faster, and better. But when your nervous system is completely spent, forced positivity is just another form of violence against your true state. It is telling a broken heart that it isn't allowed to bleed. Ignoring the weight inside you only keeps your system on high alert, because it requires constant vigilance to keep those feelings suppressed. When you force yourself to smile through your tears, your body knows you are lying. It registers the internal conflict as a threat, locking you deeper into a state of defense because it feels like even you are not a safe place for its honest pain. True resilience is not about maintaining a forced sense of positivity. It is about having the courage to acknowledge your full reality. It is about sitting on the floor, letting the tears fall without trying to stop them, and admitting that you are broken, tired, and scared. Carl Jung described this necessity clearly, writing, "I would rather be whole than good." Think about what it means to choose wholeness over being good. Being good usually means meeting everyone else's expectations, being the one who never complains, the one who always smiles, and the one who keeps going no matter the cost. But being whole means making space for your grief, your anger, and your limitations alongside your strength and kindness. It means allowing yourself to be a complete human being, one who has bad days, one who gets overwhelmed, and one who cannot always hold everything together. To be whole means looking at your inner mess and deciding that you do not have to be perfectly cheerful or endlessly productive to be worthy of care. When you allow yourself to be whole, you stop forcing your body to carry an artificial persona, allowing your nervous system to finally exhale and settle into its true, unaltered state. There is an incredible, life-giving relief that comes when you finally stop pretending. When you look at your exhaustion and say, "This is my truth right now, and I am going to let it be here," a deep shift happens inside your cells. Your body realizes it no longer has to fight the heavy battle of hiding its own weariness from you. You are finally treating your inner landscape with the tenderness and honesty it has been starving for, opening the door for genuine, deep rest to finally begin. We often talk about boundaries as if they are merely social rules or intellectual choices. We view them as lines we draw in conversation or polite strategies we use to manage our schedules and protect our time. But when you are experiencing deep exhaustion, boundaries are a matter of genuine physical preservation. They are not a lifestyle choice. They are a shield for your very life force. Every single interaction, every request, and every commitment requires a portion of your limited energy. When your system is already depleted, saying yes to things you cannot afford to give away is like spending currency you do not have. It keeps your internal alarms ringing because your body knows it is operating at a dangerous deficit. Your survival brain looks at your dwindling energy reserves and panics, realizing that you are giving away the very fuel it needs just to keep your heart beating and your system functioning. Every time you say yes when your entire soul is screaming no, you are telling your nervous system that its comfort and survival are less important than someone else's expectations. Your body registers this as a profound betrayal. It realizes that the person who is supposed to be guarding the gate, you, is opening the doors wide and letting the world walk all over the remaining pieces of your peace. This internal conflict keeps you locked in a state of high alert, filled with a quiet bitterness and resentment that eats away at what little strength you have left. You find yourself feeling angry at the people who ask things of you, not because they are being cruel, but because you are desperate for someone to notice that you are completely empty. Setting a boundary does not require an explanation, an apology, or a dramatic confrontation. It doesn't need to be wrapped up in a long story designed to prove to the other person that you have a valid reason to protect yourself. It can look like a quiet, firm sentence. "I am unable to take that on right now." Or, "I need to step away from this discussion for a little while." It is the practice of leaving a social gathering early when you feel your energy fade, without feeling the need to make an elaborate excuse or wait for permission to care for yourself. It is the simple act of letting a ringing phone sit across the room while you close your eyes, deciding that the person on the other end can wait, but your breaking heart cannot. When you protect your time and your physical space, you send a powerful signal to your internal system. You are demonstrating through your actions that you are a safe protector for yourself, and that you will not allow your core reserves to be entirely drained away. Your body begins to understand that it doesn't have to keep its defenses raised so high, because you are finally doing the work of protecting the perimeter. It realizes that it can stop producing frantic waves of anxiety to force you to slow down, because you are finally listening to its quiet whispers. By building these firm, loving walls around your life, you create a sacred, unshakable space where your nervous system can finally let go of its heavy armor, rest its tired eyes, and begin the deep, quiet work of healing. Returning to a place where your body feels genuinely settled is not a linear journey. It is not a straight road where every single day is slightly better, lighter, and easier than the one before. There will be days when you feel a wonderful sense of lightness and ease, followed by mornings where you wake up with that same old, familiar tightness in your chest. You might have a Tuesday where you breathe easily and feel like you are finally turning a corner, only to wake up on Friday feeling entirely heavy, overwhelmed, and completely out of options again. It is incredibly important not to view those heavy days as a sign that you have failed or that your progress has been erased. Your nervous system does not heal by switching from anxious to calm permanently. It heals by expanding its capacity to move through waves of tension and return to equilibrium more smoothly. The heavy days are not a step backward. They are simply the moments where your body is processing the leftover weight of the past. When the old, familiar anxiety or exhaustion creeps back in, it is so easy to feel a deep sense of despair. You might want to cry out in frustration, wondering why you are back here again after working so hard to heal. But this is the exact moment where your system needs your gentleness the most. Instead of panicking and thinking that you are back at square one, you can learn to look at your tight chest or your racing mind and treat them like an old friend who is just having a difficult afternoon. You can remind yourself that a wave of tension is just a wave. It rises. It reaches its highest point, and eventually it breaks and washes away. Healing means that even when the storms come, you are slowly learning how to hold your own hand until the water becomes still again. Be incredibly gentle with yourself as your system learns how to trust the quiet again. For a long time, your body believed that staying stressed was the only way to keep you alive. It takes time, patience, and a lot of repetition for your cells to realize that the emergency is truly over. This process cannot be rushed, managed, or forced. You cannot command your heart to slow down, and you cannot bully your spirit into feeling safe. Safety is a quiet, beautiful thing that grows slowly in the soil of your everyday choices. It happens in the unhurried spaces we clear for ourselves, in the kindness we offer to our own weariness, and in the steady, patient decision to slow our pace. Every single time you choose to take a slow breath, every time you let an argument go, and every time you allow yourself to just rest instead of pushing through, you are teaching your system that it is okay to let its guard down. You do not have to fix your entire life today. And you do not have to solve every single problem before you are allowed to rest. The world will continue to turn. The demands will still be there tomorrow. And you don't need to be perfect to be worthy of peace. Right now, in this very moment, your only task is to acknowledge your exhaustion. Take one slow, deliberate breath and allow yourself to simply exist exactly as you are. You are allowed to be tired. You are allowed to take your time. There is no destination you have to reach by tonight, and there is no award for healing the fastest. The path back to yourself is built out of nothing but small, quiet moments of mercy. Let yourself land here, right now, in the stillness of this breath, and trust that your tired body already knows the way back home. If you have made it this far, please take a moment to look back at how much territory you have covered. You didn't just listen to words about healing. You sat with your own discomfort, stared honestly at your own exhaustion, and acknowledged the hidden divide you've been carrying. That takes an immense amount of bravery. We often look at self-discovery as a series of heavy breakthroughs, but real integration is a quiet, ongoing conversation with your own skin. As you return to your day, remember that you are not a project to be finished or a machine to be optimized. You are a living, feeling system that is learning how to trust the world and itself all over again. If this space felt safe for you today, consider subscribing so we can continue navigating this inner landscape together. Your presence here is deeply valued, and being part of this community means we don't have to walk the path of self-discovery in isolation. Before you step back into the noise of your daily life, take one more quiet breath. Let your shoulders drop just a fraction of an inch. You don't have to carry the whole world today. You just have to carry yourself. Before we part ways, I want to invite you to seal this moment of reflection right here with us. If you feel ready to honor your boundaries and protect your energy, please take a second to leave an affirmation in the comments below. You can simply type, "I am worthy of rest, and I choose my peace today." Let your words be a gentle reminder to yourself and a beacon of support for anyone else who might read them.